Well, it's New Year's Eve. I'm back in Algonquin Park, back on the Highland Trail. I'm looking to get out for a couple of nights to do the first loop, just to get out, low mileage, low stress, time to reset. Well, the weather has turned out to be really nice today. I think it's hovering around 0 degrees for the day, with about -7 overnight. Tomorrow around -2, and then the temperature drops to about -14 overnight. But it is so picturesque today. I'll probably hike another hour and a half or so, and I'll start looking for an area to camp while I'm hiking. Well, I found a spot. Got my tent set up. Gonna pile everything in, inflate my mattress, settle in, eat. I gotta find somewhere to put my food. I'm not really concerned about bears. They should be hibernating, but with this spring-like weather, who knows? But chipmunks and mice and that will chew through your food bag if you leave it unsecure. So it was wet getting here. So many water crossings. The trail is all mucked out. It's wet and sloppy. Oh well. Anyway, Happy New Year's. It is mid-morning, and it snowed all last night. I had to knock the tent off quite a few times. I didn't sleep very well. I was up until about 4 in the morning. Then I finally fell asleep, so I think I'm gonna have to change my pillow system. My pillow system that's worked for me for the last maybe 5 years just isn't cutting it for me now anymore, so I'm having some coffee. I'm listening to the snow. I think I'm going to change my itinerary a bit today. So I was going to continue around the loop around Provoking, but with this snow and all the melt that's been happening from the rain that we had last week, my boots are soaked, and there was a lot of like streamy type crossings. I think I'm going to double back to the junction and then go camp maybe towards the lookout. It's only a few kilometers, but I think I might do that so I can get another night out here. And I mean, everything's damp. My toe box is wet. on my quilts. The condensation has been brutal. The snow and the kind of warmer temperatures, it's just been nuts. But it's still a good day. Happy New Year. I wouldn't rather be anywhere else. It's kind of cool. Those are some really fresh buck tracks. He must have just come by not long ago. When I woke up early this morning, there was some tracks all around my camp. Tracks all around where the line hanging from my bear line was. Just investigating, and I'm pretty sure it was a fisher, due to the spread of the distance between the tracks. That or it was a very large marten, but I'm pretty sure it was a fisher. But it's been snowing so much that the tracks are getting covered right away. So that buck must have just passed in the last 30 minutes. Pretty cool. I've decided to double back to the main trail, to the junction for the lookout. I feel like the trail, this part here isn't so bad, but where it's like all flooded out, it's going to be icy mud water with snow on top, and it's about an 8.5 kilometer hike to get around the loop, and it's some tough hiking in some spots, and it's going to be pretty flooded out. So I decided to double back for safety. You know, it's an odd time of year. It's not icy enough to wear micro spikes, even though I brought them. You can't use snowshoes because so much of the ground is bare. So it's a little dangerous, you know, because you can't see what your footing is underneath. At least when you have a snow base, it's ice or snow. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to be going pretty slow. It's not big miles at all. It's actually very short. But I'm wearing my rain kilt and my raincoat just to stay dry. But with all the snow falling on me, I'm going to be wet. My boots were still wet this morning. So, you know, I'll play it by ear when I get to the junction. And I can always double back to my car and sleep there tonight if I wanted to, or find another spot. But I think I'll be okay if I take it slow. I'd like to camp out near the lookout if possible. Okay. Well, I just stopped to have a break here at this creek. It's a pretty quick moving creek. And I'm going to boil some water to make some lunch. I'm not starving by any means right now, but I'll be packing out my water for the evening. So I might as well take advantage of fresh flowing water now. I still have a little bit left that I'm going to drink, but I just filled this up at the creek. Gonna add 2 aqua tabs to it. Shake it up and let it sit for 30 minutes, and then it will be safe to drink. The problem with the water filters, like my Sawyer Squeeze, I love that thing. However, you cannot really use, it's hard to use in the winter because if it freezes, it's shot. So it's hard to keep it from freezing. So shake it up, let it sit 30 minutes, and it will be safe to drink. I'm going to put some water on to boil, maybe have some ramen, and take a load off. It is beautiful, but it is so damp, and you know, the footing is a little treacherous. But the sound, the muffled sound when you're walking in the woods during a snowfall, there's nothing like it. It really is, you know, it's like this intense silence of everything. Well, I brought my pocket rocket and an isobutane canister for this trip. I generally prefer to use the alcohol stove even in the winter. I find if you just add a little bit of extra fuel and you prime it, it runs even in the cold. However, like this morning I had to melt snow to make my coffee because I was out of water. It uses a lot more fuel trying to melt snow. So I brought this so I knew that I'd have more than enough fuel to melt snow as needed. I wait for my water to boil. I'm gonna finish off the water that I have left. That's one thing in the winter I find dehydration is almost more dangerous because you don't really notice that you're thirsty. And just like when you're not hungry, you should still eat because you burn more calories just maintaining your body temperature. Well, I'm at the lookout and it is just breathtaking today. Balmy winter scene. Looking out to see if I see any animals, but don't see any. I think I'm going to try to find a camp spot not far from here. Yeah! Well, I've got about an hour of light left before it's dark, and I'm set up pretty high, not far off the trail from the lookout, probably a little closer than I should be, but I'm not doing any damage on top of the snow. I am going to get in, set up my stuff, and change to get on some dry clothes so I can get warm. I am pretty warm right now. My fingers and toes are cold because my feet are wet. But it's when you stop moving. So I'm gonna get warmed up and then probably get some water on to soak my supper and chat at you later. Well, it's my last morning here on the trail. The temperature dropped last night to minus 14. It's minus 14 right now. The wind really picked up. But once I warmed up and dried out, I was warm through the night. I slept pretty well. Actually slept a long time. The thing is, I find when it's cold out when you're winter camping, every time you turn over, you kind of have to like readjust your bag so you're not losing, the heat's not escaping anywhere. Because the system I'm using right now is I've got my summer down as my liner. It's a sleeping bag, and then I have my, it's a 15-degree Fahrenheit quilt, so about minus 10 Celsius. So my sleeping pad, this summer I switched to the Nemo Tensor all-season sleeping pad. I had the Thermarest Neo Air X Lite before. I've been okay to like early minus 20s. And no problems there. My tent, had condensation, but because it was so cold, it froze, which is good. So I slept really well last night. It's been a good trip. I'm glad that I adjusted my route yesterday. I feel like, it would have been a long slog, very slow going, and with the flooded out areas and then the fresh snow on top of that, it would have been a long haul, and I'm here for fun. This is like a mini vacay. So I'm glad that I did that. I'm probably gonna have one more coffee before I start packing up, and then have to put on my frozen wet boots. Once I get moving, my feet will be fine. It's just the initial shock is always rough. But yeah, it's been a good trip. You can see the sun's trying to poke through. Just coming down off of this ridge, nice walking. Making my way towards the junction and then the Madawaska River. You know, snow is beautiful, but it makes things wet and damp. But I'd rather have some snow and be wet and damp than not have it. So the key, fast enough to stay warm, but not to sweat, which on some of the hills is hard. I started off this morning with my other jacket on because putting on my damp clothes and my frozen wet boots, my feet are still cold, but they'll warm up in time. I was cold, and you always want to start off cold, but I mean, I was cold. So just coming out to the main trail, I had to strip down again. So the tracks where I just came from, it's where I came in yesterday, and I just walked out. Those are my tracks from yesterday on my way here. You can see they're fairly snow covered. And I'm heading back out this way. And as you can see, I'm the last person to come in. All the tracks are covered up. The only tracks that were left were mine. So it's been 48 hours since somebody's been in this way. It just goes to show, like, you know, you can be 10 kilometers or less from a trailhead, but getting in, getting out, especially in inclement weather, can be tough. So that's why it's important. For instance, like yesterday, I changed my route. You know, I love adventure, and I do take risks, but ultimately it's always about your safety, you know, and yeah, I know I can do certain things, but you know, the risk of hypothermia, the risk of all these things increase. And I mean, ultimately, search and rescue, for them to try and get in here, it's rough. I don't know, you know, if you call search and rescue, you know, they're not going to be there in 20 minutes. So despite my desire for adventure, I do maintain a composure where I gauge the situation, and you know, sometimes I've made calls and in the end I didn't have to. It turned out fine, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. See, this is the treachery right now. If the snow hadn't melted, hadn't gotten all that rain, this would be ice, and I could wear my microspikes safely. But right now, there's so much ice and rock exposed that it would be more dangerous to wear spikes on the rocks. There we go. That's how you do that. Aha! Snowed down the back. Well, I'm just nearing the trailhead. If you followed along this whole time, thank you. And please consider subscribing and hitting that notifications bell and all that jazz. But it was a good trip. There and back safely. So far, no regrets. Beautiful time. And it felt good just to get out and to reset and to enjoy the beauty that Algonquin Park has to offer. Thank you.